Thanks a lot for joining and taking the time today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been great to look through your podcasts and some of your Instagram accounts to see like what kind of interviews and things that you've been talking with people about. And I'm grateful that Dr. Hyder asked me to speak with you because I feel like there's a lot of alignment and things I'm excited to talk about.
Awesome. Me too.
Yes, the first thing I would like to ask about is your Keto In and Out program.
Mhm.
And yeah, maybe your take on the sustainability of keto and the reason why you
Sure.
chose to frame it and approach it in this way.
Sure. Yeah. So the Keto In and Out program was my first step. And then I actually wrote a book about this whole concept. It's called Short Term Keto. And that book really finalizes Keto In and Out. I wrote that program in 2018. And then Short Term Keto came out in, when was it? The end of 2021. So after years of coaching clients on this and running people through programs and boot camps and all of this, Short Term Keto finalizes where I stand on this. And it's basically this, like I started out as I was one of the people really talking about keto in the beginning, like in 2017, 2018. I was fascinated by the ketogenic diet and the power that it had to do so many beneficial upgrades in the body in the beginning of 2018. After being a year of keto, strict keto, I trained for and ran the Boston Marathon in ketosis. I tried so many different approaches. I was coaching people on keto and I was just having this intuitive feeling like, it's time to bring some carbs back in. And so I just honored that because that's just how I am. And after doing that, it was like massive health upgrades, right? So I'm grateful that I did keto. There were some benefits for me, like eating more fat was really awesome. I could tell, like, just hormonally, mentally, emotionally, I felt I needed that boost in fat. I don't think that I personally needed to do keto for a full year. I was very lean. I had just qualified for the Boston Marathon, lifting weights, all of that. I came into the keto space from a pretty different angle. Most people come to lose body fat. I did not need to lose body fat. I was extremely lean, too lean almost. I was like 11% body fat, like super lean. So I actually did gain some body fat. I was okay with that on a ketogenic diet. So yes, you can gain body fat on keto. But I also was losing muscle mass, even no matter how much I optimize protein and supplementing leucine and just trying all these different varieties. I was still losing muscle mass. And I just knew for me, I was like, I just really do better with some carbohydrates, right? And so when I brought those back in, I dropped without even tracking food or anything. Like my athletic performance shot up. I dropped down to like 12 point something body fat without even trying to. And I was like, whoa, this is freaking fascinating. And so I just had my mind open. I really started trying this approach with clients, helping them heal insulin resistance with keto, getting good blood sugar management, restoring hormonal balance. Not for everyone. For some people, especially women, like it could, if they stress themselves out too much with low calorie, not enough protein. Keto is a stressor on the body. It's like a healing upgrade, but if it's done in too much of an extreme for too long, it can be overly stressing on the body. But after years of practicing that and trying it with clients, I started to speak up on it. It was scary back then. Like in the keto world, I was very in the keto community. The mentality was keto is far superior. That's the world I found myself. This is the most superior. Ketones are the preferred fuel source for the brain, and it's anti-inflammatory. And if you eat carbs, the energy of them, and people weren't saying this, but the energy was like, you're like a suboptimal human. Like you're a sugar burner is what people would call them, right? Like you're dependent on carbohydrates and all this kind of, I don't know, a little bit derogatory. Like it was starting to get very dogmatic, just being real. And I was like, don't like that. Just started getting way more open-minded with approaches with my clients and eventually released that program and started running people through. And the synopsis is this: if you are insulin resistant, if you have high blood sugar, keto is going to make it a lot easier for you to lose body fat because you're not going to be going through these highs and lows of blood sugar that happen when you, like, if you wake up and your blood sugar is over 100, you're on your way to type 2 diabetes. It needs to be addressed. And if you're in that state, like when you eat carbs, you're going to get a blood sugar spike and then you're going to drop and you're going to have this need food now. Like you might even shake a little bit, feel hypoglycemic, like you get hangry. It's just nothing matters. I can't even think about eating healthy. I just need fast sugar now. Like that energy will go away. And that's really hard for some people to realize. If you've been in that state, you're like, yeah, I could never live without sugar. I need it. I'm addicted to it. Nope. Once you start producing ketones and you have regulated blood sugar, that's like people's biggest wow moment, right? Like, yeah, this is me. This is crazy. Right. And so you can do keto. It depends on the person, how long they need to do that. And that's what the book goes into, is like, how do you know? Right. And it's basically, we want to look for signs of regulated blood sugar. Some people do it for a drop of inflammation. Some people do it for a therapeutic interventions, which I won't touch on, but epilepsy and neurological diseases and some cancers. And there's a lot of therapeutic benefits of the ketogenic diet. Super anti-inflammatory, super, right? So there's all those things. And anytime you are doing an extreme, some things are getting upregulated, some things are getting downregulated. That's what happens in extreme. So first, let's say if you're obese, you have high blood sugar, you have a ton of inflammation, keto can be very healing for that. But if you keep doing it forever, I'm not saying you can't, obviously if you're doing it for epilepsy or something like that, you probably want to do it forever. And some people will feel better doing it long-term. But what I like to ask people is, do you really feel better? Or have you gotten into a mindset, you've been doing this for 2, 3, 4 years. Have you gotten into a mindset that, one, if you eat carbs, you'll get fat again because maybe you lost a lot of weight? Have you gotten a mindset of carbs are bad and inflammatory and trying to kill me and all this stuff that you hear on social media and from a lot of powerhouses in the health community? It's just inviting people to ask, have you been a bit programmed? Is it true? Because there's a lot of people all over the world that eat carbohydrates and are very healthy. And so it's important to question these kind of like dogmatic thought processes and just be with yourself and how you're actually feeling. And in summary, it's like, for some people, especially if you're obese, type 2 diabetes, high blood sugar, tons of inflammation, something like that. Yeah, keto is a really smart approach for you. It's going to make it easier for you to lose weight because you're going to regulate your blood sugar. You're going to drop inflammation. You're going to get these ketones that give you brain power. You have more energy. Your dopamine goes up, all of these things. And then once you've lost the weight, like I see it all the time in the keto community now, there's going to become a point where you have to accept that you're in a different body now. Good for you. You did it. I was just talking to a keto influencer friend locally the other day, and she lost a lot of weight, I think 150 pounds doing keto. Now she does like bodybuilding competitive shows. And she's like, I can't believe how many carbs I can eat now. I'm like, yeah. She's like, a lot. I'm like, yeah, because you're in a different body now. It has different needs. So that my little tagline in the keto space is, do keto, not forever. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And it makes a lot of sense, actually. The last couple of months of doing coaching, I have a couple of people who've been doing keto or even carnivore actually for around a year. And initially they experienced all these benefits and a lot of inflammatory markers went down. They got out of the pre-diabetic range. They were super happy. And then after a year or so, they started to see a regression in the blood markers and even in the diabetes markers. They didn't do so well on the insulin testing. And it was really interesting to see that and just notice that there's a point at which it plateaus and then it stops working, and then it can even have the opposite effect.
I just want to add what you're saying. I really want to highlight this for people. Like, that is professionalism. That's why I always recommend working with someone who works with people one-on-one versus just taking like dogmatic theoretical information from social media of carbs are bad, carbs are going to kill you. It will do this, blah, blah, blah. Take your advice from someone like you and me who are like willing to be open of, yeah, it was good for a time and then it got not so good. Like, that is so needed. So I just want to highlight that was awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it's necessary. And there's a lot of different reasons for it. I think in the case of this client, he was doing a lot of intermittent fasting, but his fasting window was basically at night and he was just eating at night. And I just said to him, the best time, even though it's not especially sociable, it's good to do your fasting, have your breakfast and then stop eating earlier in the day. And that's a better fasting window to do than starting eating at 5 p.m., for example. That's not the best, because then you're having this really heavy meal before bed and you're eating into the night. And there's a lot of interesting work done on the microbiome, and they actually have their own circadian rhythms. And we have to, in a way, adhere to those circadian rhythms of the microbes that live inside us. It's not just about overriding it with this dogma. Yeah, it was interesting for him to notice this, but it was similar to what you said when I suggested this idea of maybe stopping. He was so resistant to it. And the main reason was just that it was so much effort to do this, that the idea of stopping doing it somehow mitigated or would revoke some of that effort that he'd previously put in, which is interesting because we just have this idea that when we try so much to reach something, then we need to hold on to it, because if
I
not,
know.
otherwise it wasn't worth it.
And do it
uh,
more and harder when it stops being as effective and versus
yeah,
shifting. Yeah.
exactly. It's really hard to shift and just accept that
Hmm.
like this wasn't a failure, it worked, and you got
Yeah.
here and you made these improvements, but now your body is saying this doesn't work for me anymore.
And I like to always say the more work you've done like that, the easier it gets. And it's hard
Mm,
for people sometimes to accept that it can be easier now. Like that same girl I was talking to, I have hardly lifted upper body in the last couple months, and it's like getting so strong. And I'm like, yeah, isn't it amazing how it gets easier? And
mhm.
that's for me, coming from being overweight my entire life to getting super lean and strong. I can relate to that because I was like, no, it has to be hard, because it was really hard to get here.
Mm,
And now I finally gotten to a place where I'm like, actually, once you build your body composition that way and you've learned the ropes of eating healthy, nutrient dense foods, it doesn't have to be so hard.
yeah.
And what you said about the intermittent fasting, eating at night, that's one of the biggest problems in the keto community. It is incredibly common. And sometimes I can be a little in your face, but I just like to say that is a pattern of obesity. That is not a health pattern to be not eating. A lot of obese people do that. They don't eat for a really
Mm.
long period in the morning, and then it's all really nighttime heavy, and then rinse and repeat. And then they're like, oh, it's 1 o'clock and I haven't eaten. And it's just like, all goes into nighttime. That is not a health pattern. And everyone that I know in the health communities that actually has like a good body composition, they all say the same thing as you, is like, stop eating earlier versus eating intermittent fasting later in the day. So it's really important, if you're
Mm.
going to do keto or intermittent fasting, don't fall into that pattern.
Yeah, and it's a hard one because it's much more convenient to skip
Mm-hmm.
breakfast than it is to skip
Mm-hmm.
later meals. What you said earlier actually reminded me of something that I think you said in one of your Instagram posts about when you first got into a certain type of training. It felt, oh, I'm not punishing myself enough. This doesn't feel like a proper workout because I'm not completely annihilated afterwards. And I think there's this kind of interesting idea in the health and wellness space that unless you feel like you're really suffering, you're not doing a good job and you're not doing it right. And I think this is interesting because once you actually reach the alignment with your body and the food that you
Mm-hmm.
eat and the movement that you're doing, you don't have to constantly exert
Mm-hmm.
discipline and willpower and force and no, my body's saying no, but I need to say yes. Like
Right.
that all goes away. And we just reach this really nice flow of, oh, I
Yes.
want to do this movement and I want to eat this really nutrient dense food. And I
Right.
don't want to eat this thing because I know it makes me feel bad. And yeah, I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about that idea.
Sure. Anytime you're changing patterns and habits, it's going to be difficult at first. So if right now, let's say you go to bed at 10 and you want to start going to bed at 7, or let's say you go to bed at 11 and you want to start going to bed at 8. Our brains are designed to take the path of least resistance so we don't gas out early and die. I love analogy. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, if it wasn't difficult to change patterns, like you would have to relearn how to walk every day. You would have to relearn how to drive your car every single day. Like, it is beneficial for us that we get into these neural pathways of, oh yeah, this is how that works. And anytime you're changing the way you operate in your life, it's going to take repetition. It's going to take, I stayed up till 11 again. Oh, okay. I ate a whole bag of M&Ms at 3 o'clock again. It's okay. Yeah. Cause that's the habit. And so it is going to be difficult at first. It is going to be. Losing body fat is not easy. Your body doesn't want to do that. It's designed to keep body fat on us as a protective mechanism in case there is a famine. And so it's going to be real uncomfortable at first. If all of a sudden you have a new job, it's uncomfortable at first, right? Any type of change. But I always like to remind people that, like, once you get it though, it's exactly what you're talking about. I see this, like, I have to go harder. I have to do more and do it harder to keep getting results. And it's not that way. Once you get into a place of, like you said, flow, I'm all about daily flow. Is figure out the flow that works for you. Make your workout time the same time every day. Follow a eating window that you follow every day. Have a bedtime that like you stick to. And then everything just starts to become ease. And that in that space, you can become more intuitive. Right. So I always tell my clients, like, okay, let's say I have some big weight training lifting session for you on a Wednesday. Okay, I don't know if like you had some horrible family trauma Tuesday evening and you were up until 12 a.m. and you're starting your period. And I don't know that every single day. So I teach them that if you wake up and you feel completely drained and my eyes are almost crossed, I'm so tired. The old school mentality that I think you're referring to is no pain, no gain. I got to push myself. Like I'm going to get all these ego wins because you just got to buck up and just do it and force myself. That is completely suboptimal. That is the way to get the opposite of what you want. So honoring that, okay, I'm really tired and still moving. I personally exercise every day, but if I feel tired and under recovered, I just walk and come home. But I still keep that pattern of I wake up, I do my morning routine, I go work for an hour, I go to the gym because it just keeps that consistent daily flow. And I always want to move. Even if it's just walking, I want to move every day unless I'm like recovering from surgery or something crazy. That pattern, when you can get into a daily flow like you're talking about and honor if your body's tired. Let yourself sleep or go to bed earlier. Just walk instead of lifting. Honor, be with your body. Okay, you're going to go eat now. Okay, tap in. Hey, body, what sounds, what? A chicken salad? Okay, cool. Oh, chicken salad sounds gross. What? Oh, sweet potato and eggs? Okay, cool. Get that way with your body and finding joy in it. Let's say you had an arm workout plan. You're like, I don't feel like doing an arm workout. Okay, cool. Do a leg workout, like giving yourself space to flow intuitively with your body, but keeping the basics of I wake up pretty much the same time every day. I do this, I work out that time. I call it like a flexible schedule, right? Yeah, I'm going to exercise in this window, but if I'm really tired and under recovered, I can just walk. If I got it, I can hit it. And then like I come home, okay, I shower, I eat. You don't have to eat the same thing every day, but having principles of, I want to make sure I get protein and fiber and nutrient dense foods, that it's just so much easier to live that way. But we live in this society where people are very outside of themselves. And it's like, how should I do it? I should do it like this. I have to prove to myself. It's just at odds with oneself force energy. And that that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of resistance, suboptimal results, feeling completely disconnected from yourself. And it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah. That's my thoughts about that.
I think the external thing is something really important. It's externalizing your experience. And I think it's quite difficult, actually, I find, even working in this sphere, because I think that a lot of this externalization of your desires or symptoms or needs is actually perpetrated by the fitness industry and the wellness industry, right? Because it's that's what sells. This is the panacea. You just got to do this. You just got to follow me, and then everything's going to be good. And
exactly.
I mean, I think just before I had the call with you, I had a discovery call with someone, and she's just saying this is a really common thing when you're dealing with a chronic condition like long COVID, like what Dr. Hyder works with, is people have seen so many practitioners and doctors and they're at their wits' end and they've had every test, and they come onto the call and they just say, do you have the answer for me? Because if not, then I can't work with you. And I always say, no one has the answer for you.
Right.
That's the thing. And if someone tells you they have the answer and they know exactly what's going to guarantee to fix you, then that's a lie, because no one has that. It's just about this constant dialogue and this intuitive process combined with these non-negotiables. And it's just an exploration that you need to do. And I think that, I find it hard to figure out how to sell this idea to people, honestly, because it's just it's more effort initially, but then it's hard to explain that it's so much less effort later on. You just need to put in this initial effort to find the connection with yourself. And then later on, you don't make any effort at all, rather than what feels like less effort, which is just getting something really prescriptive. But actually sticking to something prescriptive in the long term is way, way more effort than this other option.
Exactly. I like the owner of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. I interviewed him on my podcast once, and he's been doing this for over a decade. He runs all these deep lab tests. He's very knowledgeable, right? And he was saying that when people say, can you help me? He always says, I don't know, but I'm willing to try. And he's got a whole certification with thousands of people under him, but that's professionalism, because I don't know. The body is incredibly complicated. there's a huge mental emotional piece. That's why I won't coach anybody unless they will do my mindset coaching, which I put asterisks around that because it's like soul healing. It's like you have gut issues. I don't want to just only run your stool test and give you probiotics and a food plan or whatever the approach is. Yeah, I can give you some bitters or some betaine HCl and some cool botanicals and all that. But if you're not going to address the mental, emotional stuff, you're just going to dig yourself back into that hole. So I think we're on the same boat. It's like, there's a bigger piece here where like my job as a coach is to turn you back inside yourself and help you become like a self healer with my expertise of recommendations. But I always tell my clients, I'm like, I need your feedback. I don't know. We're not robots. So if I give you like these calories and macros, I'm like, yeah, cool. We can run some metabolism tests and do some cool fractions and things that typically work for people, but we have to bring humanity back into coaching. It's, oh, okay. So you like maybe have a faster metabolism or slower metabolism, or you have gut issues. You're not digesting your food well, or you have adrenal issue. Okay. And you have really toxic marriage that you're in that causes you to drink alcohol at night because you're not doing your inner work. There's so much more to human health than just these, here's your meal plan, here's your workout plan, and here's my list of my favorite supplements that I generally recommend to people. We've got to come past this. And I know what you mean by the fitness industry, because when I get new clients, like I just had one recently, she almost wanted to get a refund because I didn't give her a very strict meal plan of 4 ounces of chicken and 2 cups of green vegetables. And I'm looking at that like, I was just very real with her. I'm like, listen, this is really low level coaching. I can give you this, sure, but it's never going to work long term. When you're at your friend's daughter's baby shower 3 Thursdays from now and you haven't been home all day, do you really think you're going to eat 4 ounces of salmon? No. And do I really want you to carry the salmon with you from yesterday all day? Because so you can be this like psychotic, obsessed person who can't just integrate at the party and just enjoy life. We've got to learn principles and how to manage life, not this super prescriptive, did you do what I say, ego coaching. We've got to evolve out of this. Sure, it can quote unquote work, but what is the end result? I always challenge the coaches out there. Let me see the after picture, like 3 years from now. How they doing? Just curious. They might be doing great. They may have learned some basics in that really strict, crazy time, but it's so important also to turn people back into themselves and learn how to navigate life and make choices that feel self-honoring. And, oh, I see now, this is how it works. So yeah, I could go on.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I actually noticed since I've been doing this long COVID coaching is I try to observe all the people I work with. And I think, okay, what is the formula for the people who do really well? And I think that there's a couple of things, and one is curiosity instead of judgment. This is a big part. Another one is kind of willingness to be in awe about how complicated the body is and fascinated by that rather than put off by that. Yeah. And the other thing is, it's almost like this childlike playfulness quality that people have. And all of those things combine to, when I think of the people who've improved the most over the program, I think they all embody these kind of qualities. And every time there was something new, okay, let's talk about earthing or grounding. Let's talk about this maybe somatic or spiritual aspect of your symptoms. One lady said that she actually told a story in the last group coaching and said, I realized that my leg fatigue and leg pain was actually about me feeling stuck in life in general. Like I just felt that, oh, I'm old. I can't really move forward in life. Like I don't really have things to look forward to. And I just felt really stuck. And once she overcame that, the leg pain went away because she was able to physically move forward in life and spiritually and energetically and all of these other things. And 100%. She told the story in the group and people were like, wow, okay. And some people's reaction is, wow, I'm curious. And others is judgment, skepticism. Oh, that can't be real. And I think this is a big indicator of the people who can move forward when they approach it with this openness and playfulness and awe and almost like childlike curiosity about the process. So
such a great observation. It's funny you're talking about that because I literally have a trauma release body work who does emotional release with the body downstairs working on someone right now. He's visiting from Iceland. And I actually got to see him do the process on this guy. It's a friend of mine that he's working on right now. And it was like, yeah, he gets to like the heart meridians and some of the, and he just had this huge release. And I've experienced that. I get it. I'm skeptical too. I'm not going to just be like, oh, like amethyst will make all my dreams come true. Yes. You know what I mean? Like I get it's healthy. It's healthy to have some skepticism, but on this topic, one, there's plenty of research on it, on emotions being stored in the body. There's a book called Your Body is Your Subconscious Mind by Candace Pert. I would invite anybody to check into if they're curious on this topic. But the example I like to give is there have been organ transplants where the person who received the transplant had memories of the person that they got it from who passed and verified it with that person's family that was a true memory. So I'm like, okay, we know that. So you think emotions aren't stored in the body? You think there's not a memory of emotional things happening in your body? There is. And there's plenty of research on it. It's not woo-woo. It's not just spiritual. It's only been accepted in the spiritual communities because we live in this very Western scientific, like we've actually, to me, it looks like it's like we have lost one of our legs. We're like hopping around on one leg in terms of healing. And now we're inviting in the quote unquote woo, which is really just like human wisdom passed down through many generations. And so it's cool to see that we're getting more open to it. And yeah, I invite all of that stuff into my coaching because it's super effective. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. And I think there are great people, like I think Andrew Huberman even had a podcast recently about this, the epigenetics of how memories are passed down through cells. And I think it's just great when people like him and very much in the scientific sphere explore these kind of subjects, because in some ways it's sad that we need this to validate the existence of these concepts, because it just goes to show how kind of like very masculine and very, unless it's science, it's not real kind of thing. But it is nice to explore that from that perspective, as well as any other traditional wisdom or myth culture or storytelling or other ways in which we explore these subjects.
I love it when science and spirituality, which by the way, I see this is the same thing, but I love it when those communities match because the two witnesses, it's cool. Okay. The shamans are saying this, the medicine, and then the science, verified. Like it's really cool when that happens. So I always appreciate that too. I'm like, that will help my skeptics.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so I think my next question is there was, I think you mentioned to Dr. Heider that if you ever did a TED talk, you'd talk about what it looks like to have a relationship with your body. I don't know if there's any segues with what we've already talked about, but if there is anything new that you would like to add with that subject.
Yeah. Oh man, it's my favorite thing to talk about. It's one of those things where you're living when you know you're living in a certain energy and you can see that like almost no one around you is, and I don't know, it's just hard not to see it. It's like when you've achieved self-love and then you see the way people talk to themselves or treat themselves. It's like that experience for me in terms of how I relate to my body. And it definitely makes the intuitive stuff that you were talking about really easy. And it sounds like you're on this plane too. So mine might be a little more extreme in this example, but it definitely sounds like how you live as well. But what I've learned is that we have a hard time remembering that we are not our bodies, our earth. I like to call them our earth suits. Okay. Because this is obviously, I'm 40. So I got maybe 50 something years left in this earth suit, but this is not me. This is not my consciousness. We know that this is going to turn into dust someday, but we forget that, right? We're going around on a Tuesday, going to the gym and taking a shower after. And it's not uncommon for a lot of people. They're judging themselves, right? Ooh, I have cellulite on my butt. Gross. Or, ooh, look at my belly fat. Ooh. And to me, that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And it's because I have worked very hard to develop, not very hard. It doesn't even feel hard. I have just been very mindful about developing a relationship with my body as though it is a separate entity than me. And I actually see it as like trillions of little subjects that I'm like the queen over, right? or a guy, like a king. Like I imagine in a movie that there's this king overlooking all of his subjects, right? And it's what kind of king or queen are you going to be to these subjects? Because I know for sure the body is doing everything it can for us to survive and thrive, constantly adapting, like undying loyalty and love. Okay, we don't have very much zinc, so let's make this work around, and it's doing everything it can for us constantly. The gut microbiome, now that I'm running stool tests, the compensations are unreal. It's trying so hard to help us thrive. And so when you look at that and you imagine this visual of, okay, so your body is this like kingdom of all these subjects. And which kind of king or queen are you going to be? Are you going to be the one, the evil one in the movie where they're like, please, we want to thrive, but we don't have any water or resources. And you're like, no, no water or resources for you. Are you going to be that one? Or are you going to be the one that's loving and wants what's best for your people and support them and listen to them and go meet amongst them? So the way that I've integrated this into my life is when I sit down to meditate in the morning, which by the way, like if you're on a healing journey and you're not meditating, it's indispensable. It's indispensable. And it's a toughie. It's one that I really have to like, oh yeah, I know you don't have time. Yeah, I know you're going to do it anyway. I'm a little bit hard. I'm not very hard nosed on stuff with my coaching, but I am on that one. I'm like, nope, wait, okay. That's okay. Tomorrow though, let me know one time this week. Let's see how it goes. Cause we've been so programmed into this, like our worth is in our doing. So we're so uncomfortable just being. It creates all this anxiety of deep worthiness issues. Like I need to be doing in order to prove my value to myself. So when I sit down to meditate, it's very common in meditation. You scan your body and just notice things. A lot of people do that. And I do that. I just notice is like if there's any tightness or like anything in my abdomen or my feet or my toes or anything, I just notice. And then I thank my body, because I do see my body as like these sentient beings that are all working together so that I can enjoy this life. So I'm like, thank you for everything you're doing. Is there anything you need? And I just sit with it. And I just have started over the years entertaining that. Right. So sometimes things would come out of left field, like B vitamins or fish oil, or sometimes it was very simple, like definitely more sleep, dude. Yeah. Or sometimes, hey, get off your phone in the gym. We actually need you to pedal to the metal it a little bit. Like you have been really not getting those intensity levels. I'm like, that always surprised me. I'm like, oh, you want more intensity? Oh, wow. I never. So I just have started entertaining it. As a result, I'm experiencing extreme health with extreme ease. It is unbelievably easy as I just have that relationship with my body. What I invite anybody listening to do is try that practice. Just sit with your body, just feel it, just notice if anything rings out, thank it for everything it's doing for you and ask it what it needs and just entertain it. Just play with it. Just try and see. And it's gotten to the point now, that's how I am with food. That's how I am with sleep. That's how I am with exercise. I've been doing this for many years, but if I'm sick, I'm like, what do you need? And I just sit with it and I just trust it. And it's the last time I was sick, it was like so much fish oil because I hadn't been taking fish oil for a while. I was like, okay. And I just play with it. It's come to this point now where everything is so beautiful and easy. I'm completely at ease in my body and trust my body. And for people listening, like dealing with long COVID is such a beautiful opportunity to practice this, because the innate intelligence of your body trumps any single health professional you will ever meet. Because none of us know how the body works. I always tell my clients that. I'm like, just remember, I don't know how the body works. I just like to mess with them a little bit, because if we truly knew how the body worked, I could just create one right here out of thin air. There's so much we don't know. There's so much in quantum physics and how things relate to each other. We found some cool stuff, right? Like like vitamin C and glutathione and antioxidants, they help drive down inflammatory process. Cool. We found some cool stuff, but no one on the planet, the way I see it is we're not even junior kindergarten yet. The innate intelligence of the body, the way it all works together. I imagine these like spaceship sentient beings that are just way more advanced than us that would actually understand the technology of the human body. So in that, I share that to remind you to go into the innate intelligence of your own body and sit with it. What is it asking you? Is it asking you for more sleep? Are you giving it that? It's heartbreaking to me that so much of society will not allow themselves to sleep as much as their body is wanting it to know. I can't. I need to stay up because it's my only time without working kids. And then I have to get up early and work out. If your body is asking for more sleep, that is numero uno. You never deny it, that ever. It's trying to heal you mentally, emotionally, physically. Like sleep is the master healer. I don't see a single shaman, medicine worker, naturopathic doctor, anyone on the planet that is even remotely close to the level of healer of that sleep is. I'm trying to heal you. So if you're feeling more tired than usual, honor that. And I really recommend going to bed earlier, getting that practice integrated in your life. Because if you try to just sleep in all the time, you're going to feel all out of sorts and have no sort of routine in your life. And it just feels horrible. So practice going to bed earlier. No TV show, no book, no nothing is going to build your life in those few hours before bed that you're wasting going to sleep earlier and getting up earlier. So
Mm.
that's it. It's just, this is definitely a theme of my coaching. It's been beautiful. A book that I like to recommend to people who they're dealing with stuff, right? Like chronic Lyme or chronic health issues. Long COVID would be a great one. Read The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton.
I know
He
that
was
one.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
amazing. Like, it's just like shows how much your beliefs in your mind control your physiology. And we forget this. Like, we know about the placebo effect. He even shares
Yeah.
in that book that people had fake knee surgeries where they cut them open and didn't actually do the knee surgery, and their knees healed from
Yeah.
not having through their mind. And we like forget this in terms of our health.
Yeah. The
That is,
placebo is just overlooked. Oh yeah, that thing.
go integrate that into your daily life. So
Yeah.
I would invite for you guys, don't say I have long COVID. Don't say that ever again. Because like you're telling your body, yes, this is what we have. I am inflamed. I'm healing. I am healing. I'm listening. Great job, body. You're doing awesome. Is there anything you need? Thank you for what you're doing. Oh, cool. Chronic Lyme. That's autoimmune issue. I have Hashimoto's. Stop saying that. Stop telling your body what's wrong with it. I'm not denying that somebody has an autoimmune issue. I'm not denying that someone has, but just try it out. Just entertain me, because I have seen clients go from like their thyroid's not functioning, their adrenals are not functioning, their gut's a mess, they're just like fatigue mania. And just from honoring sleep, reading The Biology of Belief, getting into changing like this intuitive process with what do you need, body? I'm here with you. It's unbelievable. Like it's gotten to the point where I wouldn't say lost respect, but I've definitely moved down on the priority list, like protocols, as much as this stuff and my health coaching. It is extremely powerful. So don't forget that. Be careful, be mindful of what you're telling your body, because it's listening. It's just like law of attraction with like money and all this kind of stuff. If deep down you believe that you're always going to be poor, then you will be. Deep down, if you believe you're always going to be sick, then you will be. Like, it's just following you. You are the consciousness. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I feel I resonate so much with this idea. And one thing with the long COVID recovery, that I feel that the people that suffer the most are really the go-getters and the A-type personalities, and because they feel fatigued and they just feel like I can't do my normal day, which is being the CEO of a company and having 5 kids and training for a marathon and doing all the stuff, and I can't do this. And it's just in some senses, this condition is just showing you what you need, and it's continuing to show you what you need until you listen.
Exactly.
So,
it's what you're fatigued. So make the changes in your life so that you can listen to that. That's the biggest thing I've seen with like all sorts of chronic health issues. I'm like, why are you rejecting the fatigue? It's a rejection.
Exactly.
It's, I shouldn't be tired. And it's, you're missing it. You are missing it. Your body is saying, let me heal you. And you're like, no, it's just embrace the fatigue. And then you can get healed. Right? Like allow yourself to respond in a loving, healthy way to what your body's asking for. It's just trying to heal you, but we reject it. It's wounds. It's proving my worth. It's mindset programming of I have to do all. No, you don't. You can find solutions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think because I always ask, why do you need to do this crazy HIIT workout, or why do you need to do this? And usually the answer is something like, oh, because it's my only escape. It's me time. It's the only time I'm like doing self-care. It's all of this. And it's just, you can have those things, not in a HIIT workout. There's other ways to satisfy that need. You don't have to hold on to this and keep doing this because your body is saying no. And if you keep overriding that, then you're never going to be able to heal, and you're never going to reach this point. So yeah, it's a challenge. One interesting thing that I was thinking when you were talking about this process is this idea of radical honesty with the body. And I think that what I found that's interesting is that when you work on this concept in your body with your sleep and with food and all of these other things, it's almost like a muscle that gets trained, and you're able to expand it out into your life at large. And that's really an amazing thing to have. And I often find, I had a conversation with a friend who I'm going to visit in London, and he was trying to decide whether I should visit a couple of days earlier or not. And I just said to him, think about me visiting with your family and all these other people. Is it a full body yes or not? And
what a good friend you are. Yes.
But just without this, because he was like, oh, I don't think you're going to like this city, and maybe you won't like them. And all of these other things. I'm like,
Mm,
those aren't the things that you need to think about. All you think
right.
about is this your full body yes or not?
I love that.
And
Yes.
I feel like this is the mindset that this teaches you, right? It's okay, is having a sweet potato and eggs my full body yes? Or am I
Yeah.
telling myself, no, I need to eat this bacon and eggs because I'm keto, quote unquote? It's this
Right.
denial every time. And when you
Right.
practice this muscle of connection, and yes, my body says fish oil, okay, great, that. My body says
Yep.
resting, my body
Yep.
says pushing more. We practice this, and then we're
Right.
able to actually expand that and in our life make decisions more easily and be more intuitive
Totally.
with business, be more intuitive with our
Totally.
friends, with our family,
Mm,
and just cut right through to this core truth and this radical honesty. It just
mhm.
becomes much more accessible. So I
Yeah, I
think,
couldn't agree more.
yeah, I think this is a good reason to do it outside of just the wellness aspect of it.
Yeah.
Great. Let's see. I think we have time for one more question. I listened to a little bit of your, I think it was a live that you did with your friend Nikolai,
Yeah.
and you were talking about this masculine feminine polarity and how to marry and embrace those two qualities in the
Mhm.
context of, I think you were speaking in general, but in the context of wellness and diet. And maybe this intertwines with everything we've already spoken about, but maybe you have some extra things to add on that.
Yeah, it really is a great way to round out this conversation because it's all about tapping into yourself and knowing yourself and understanding yourself. And so for me, like, in case people aren't familiar, like generally when we refer to the masculine energy inside of all of us, it's not a gender specific thing or sex specific thing. The masculine energy is like our creation, build, create, go out and do energy. And our feminine, that's in all of us, is our like intuitive stillness, really assessing things, feeling things out, listening to whatever it is for you, God, universe, intuition, higher self. But that everybody knows that place where it's I'm really feeling like something's misaligned or I'm really feeling a pull to go that way. That's feminine. And so what I have found is that we live in a world in which the feminine energy has not been valued enough. I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about that's the stillness, the calm, the intuition, we even call it woo, like with this little bit of insult. That's still right. I even find myself saying that. Sorry, not to be too woo woo. I'm like, I'm not going to say that anymore. I don't like that. I actually like really got this firmed up from a woman named Anahata Ananda in Sedona, who's like a spiritual teacher, breath work, healing. She does a lot of stuff Nikolai does. She put it this way. She's like, the feminine is where you birth the ideas and the alignment and all of these things come in that you then go take your masculine energy and go out and create. And so in terms of what we've been talking about today with being intuitive with your body, sitting in stillness, listen, noticing, oh, your knee hurts. Okay, how about instead of, oh, my stupid knee and rejecting it and neglecting it and judging it, being, wait, how are you doing? What do you need? Oh, you need me to go to a chiropractor and a sports massage therapist? Okay, I'm going to show up for you. It's that energy. And so like that, when we're in the stillness with our bodies is, oh, okay, wow, I really noticed that when I drink wine, I look like I'm like 9 months pregnant. Noted. It's you really don't even have to go that far. Sure, can we do a stool test and find out you probably have some histamine stuff going on? Yeah. Or you could just notice that. And then the masculine energy would be, hey, yeah, I noticed that was mean to my body last time I had red wine. So maybe I'll have a sip and see what that does this time. Oh, wow. I still got bloated. Okay. Next time. Yeah. I don't, my body is saying no on that one. It's really that easy. Or how do I feel when I get 4 hours of sleep? That's the feminine energy. It's like noticing that from a place of love and self-support. I don't like the way this feels. Okay. So what am I going to do next time I've got friends over and they want to stay over till midnight and be like, hey guys, just letting you know ahead of time, like I got to get up early tomorrow. I got to be done by 9. Much love, less party. Like it's take the lesson, but those come in that feminine energy that's in all of us. I like yin because then it doesn't get mixed up with like genders. So it's like this yin stillness, listening, noticing, being aware, being open. And which kind of goes with you talking about the people who get the change. It's like this curious, open energy. And I can't echo that enough. That is so true. It's just, I'm open and willing to try new things, like a childlike demeanor. But that's how you can be with your body. It's just, oh, wow. Okay. I notice that if I keep eating after I'm full, like really sucks. Okay. Noted. And then the masculine energy comes in and it's, oh yeah, I'm going to actually apply that now. I'm going to make sure I don't get too full because I didn't like the way that felt. Cool. And so this process is just like I see the problem is that we want to be so in the masculine. And I know you see this, I see this in coaches, just give me what to do. I just want to do it. I literally, like, especially for men, sorry guys, but women do it too. It's like, it's just like one of the most like commonly said phrases from someone who's like considering working with me. It's, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it.
Yeah.
If you have said that, I'm sorry, I'm going to be rude. You need to shut your mouth and open up. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. That is not the way. That is being so stuck in the masculine of, I know what I need. That's not what it is. That is not the issue, that you're just having a problem in the doing. In fact, the fact that you talk like that shows me that you are so stuck in the doing. You are so stuck in the masculine energy that you are so disconnected from yourself. That is what the problem is. Not that you just need to get more in the doing. No, you're actually way too far on that side of things. What you would really help make things a lot easier for you is if you stop being so focused in the doing and come into the yin and feel. Yeah. And I have compassion on it because it's usually trauma response. I don't feel like I'm enough. I got to prove my worth. Dad didn't think I could be successful. Yes, I can. Or I used to be fat. Now I got to prove that I'm fit because then everyone will hate me because I haven't healed any of those emotional wounds. So I have compassion on it because the being stuck in the masculine energy is almost always from not feeling worthy, not feeling like enough. And it becomes addictive to doing. So it's so much compassion on it. And if you would like to heal it, come into your yin, come into your feminine, be willing. And if you're too scared to do it, because sometimes people are, right? They're like, I'm not feeling that stuff. And they get scared. Work with someone who can hold you in that space, whether it's an energy healer like Nikolai, that's who's doing the treatment right now in my house, or a therapist or a coach or someone that can hold you in that space. But if you'll come more into the feeling and more into that, then you'll have this balanced, and you'll never again say, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. That doesn't even resonate with me. For me, it's very in the moment of being connected to myself and what I need in that moment. And then the next moment. And it becomes so much more ease.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. When you were talking, I actually thought about this idea of ego and then the ego self and kind of the non-self and the non-attachment. And I often think of the ego almost as a parachute. It's sometimes you just need to deploy it, and you just need to deploy and not just keep free falling and flying all over the place. It needs to be deployed. And then other times you're like in the free fall. But if you're just accessing from either of those states too much, then you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the masculine, feminine. We need this time to execute and to structure and these kind of things. And then the other side of it. Yeah. Interestingly, I think most of the clients who I find more in this masculine space are actually women, which is quite interesting. And I don't know if it's really representative or if it's just that the men who, that we cultivate this group coaching program, and maybe just the way it is or the way I interact with them somehow coaxes them to access this point more, or if it's actually just that there's more women. But I have been quite surprised that the people I've struggled with the most to reach this point that we're talking about is actually women, just really resistant to it. And I find myself like somehow finding it difficult to really express or find an access point that doesn't, as you said, sound quote unquote. And I don't want to have to disclaimer what I'm saying. And, oh, this might sound crazy or this might sound whatever it is, but this is something to consider. It's finding that access point is actually quite challenging.
Yeah, sometimes I find, and I totally think this is why a big contributor to why we have so much hypothyroidism and adrenal fatigue is because of this program on women. That's what we've gotten. It's, oh, you're such a good mom. You're such a good sister. You're such a good friend through what? Doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just because of who you are. You can't just sit there on the couch and be a great mom. You have to be
No.
doing stuff. You got to be making the cupcakes and blah, 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 blah. And the good church member and the good friend and the good community. It's just, oh,
and the
that program
perfect
is so,
house and everything.
yeah, you are awesome now. And so like the doing program is really hard on women. And what I find a good access point is to have them walk in nature in silence, because it's still doing. Right. And so that's one thing, is you could do whatever you 20 minutes, you issue it as a challenge because it meets them where they're at and that masculine energy very well. And your challenge this week is to walk for 20 minutes in nature in silence. Can't bring your phone, can't bring anything. And that usually is like an entry point, is if I can get them doing in silence, especially walking, especially nature, because the portal, it helps. But yeah, I see the same issues. It's heartbreaking, honestly. Like once you're on the other side of it, and it's just, you just want to hold their hearts and just be like, hey, you don't have to do all that stuff. It's okay. Like you're worthy. Just sitting there, you are the beautifully worthy. But there's just so many programs of conditional love and expectations. And so it's a process.
For sure. And maybe you can speak about your retreat, because I think you're going to be, you're hosting a retreat and you're going to incorporate some of these different modalities to access this kind of work.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's May 10th through 14th, but I'm going to places on the planet that I have felt my own huge openings when I go to these places. I'm very like connected energetically to certain areas of the planet. I can feel it. I'm like, whoa, like I just get ripped wide open. And Maui is very powerful from my experience of opening up that feminine. Like what most people have been to Hawaii have had this experience of like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I so busy? Why am I living in this rat race? Holy smokes. Hawaii is a really powerful teacher on that, because you're just so integrated with nature and slow. And even the culture it's more like, hey, you don't have to like worry about all that. So just be here with me now. I have some really cool processes. I've got a self-love yoga facilitator coming. It's all about presence. It's not like your typical yoga. You're not doing yoga moves. You're like learning how to be in your body with like blindfolds and stuff like that. And then we have a naturopathic doctor coming to do breath work, which is also super helpful for opening up emotionally what's going on. Like you probably cry if you've never done like a full breath work workshop before. And it's, you're healing yourself. You're creating that space. I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I'm doing some really cool processes that will help people get more connected into their body with their physical movement and with food. And then of course, paddleboarding on the ocean, playing on the beach. Like we've got a luau. I used to dance hula forever, hiking and gourmet food, farm to table meals, all of that stuff. We're staying at this incredible retreat center that's like mind blowing. Anyway, if anyone's interested, they can just go right to my website, taragarrison.com, and right at the top, you'll see it. And then you can always like, if it's like finances are an issue or something like that with being so close, but you really want to come, just hit me up on social media. It's Coach Tara Garrison. Instagram's probably the best place to message me on that, or Facebook. And I'm also, just since I'm saying stuff like this, on TikTok. If anybody likes TikTok, I share a lot of workouts on there, and it's just Coach Tara Garrison on everything. And I also have a podcast while I'm adding to my list. If you guys want to check it out, it's Inside Out Health.
Great. Thanks a lot. Wow. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for letting me talk about it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks a lot for the hour. It was great to connect with you. I felt very aligned on all of these topics. And it's really nice to see someone in this sphere, which I think is quite dominated in this area, the masculine area that we're talking about, take this approach. And I think this is really refreshing and exciting. So
likewise, keep doing the good work fearlessly.
Thank you so much. And
thanks.
take care.